Episode 22 of the Bmoney Beastin podcast. I am here with Bailey Mezinger. I said that correct, right?
Yep, good enough.
All right. Vantage Wrestling. And for
Yep.
those that don't know, they do some amazing things. They are a brand similar to the big dogs of Rudis and Nike and things like that. And they're more affordable and even, better quality at times.
Yep.
Like you need to, before we get into that, I just want to say price point isn't everything. There are people out here trying to make things better. So check them out, Vantage Wrestling. They do some awesome stuff. They do some awesome promos. Dude, so let's get into this. You own this. I assume you own this, correct?
My brother's the owner, but yeah.
Yeah, so you guys are like a family business. Okay, you're in the state of Ohio, which is pretty much a hotbed for, amateur wrestling, right? Like it's in that little Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey,
New York, all of us up in that kind of
little cluster up there.
Yep.
So, I'm sure that all of you had like your wrestling experience, like leading into this. So like, let's go back to that and like see and tell us how it built into Vantage becoming a brand. So like where you and your brother and your family and like let's go from there.
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, wrestling has always been a family affair, like so many others. Our dad was the head wrestling coach of our high school program, and actually created the youth program in our town. So, we were born into the sport. So no other way that we'd rather have it, obviously. I don't know any other way. But yeah, wrestling's just kind of been bred into our blood. And, from the age of honestly being in diapers, rolling around on the mat with my brothers and going to youth practice and stuff like that. And then obviously coming up through the high school and everything, having him in our corner by his side, like it was always just rooted inside of our family. And then now, getting into this business, it was kind of, there was no other way around it. My brother worked for another a manufacturer, and things didn't work out there. And, we came back to the drawing boards just like, man, we can do this ourselves. Like we're wrestlers. We know the market, we know the industry, and we know what these kids want and need. Like at the end of the day, it's what they need. And, getting into it, working with, our manufacturers, stuff like that, getting our cut, everything like that's, where we started to really find our, our footing as a business. It took us, I think 3 years to really get our singlet shape dialed in to where we were completely happy with it and stuff like that. And now just the quality speaks for itself. We take the time to develop our products the correct way, try not to rush anything to market. And again, we know what this sport is and what it requires. We can't be having singlets rip on the main stage and stuff like that. We see it all the time already. And so that's where we decided to come into the market and really, hound in our price point and, great quality.
Dude, that's a thing. And we talked a little bit before we started recording, and it's perception, and that's anything in any market, at any product, anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. And if it costs more, it must be better, right? Like it's just like a very normal perception for people. Like, for instance, you go into a gas station and you look and you're getting a bottle of water, right? Like, I think I got I don't even know what this brand is, Pure Aqua. I have no idea. I bought a case of it at like Walmart or something. All right. So you go in and you have this, and then you have like Voss water, right? And, this is $1, that's $3.98, right? Or I'm just making this up.
Yeah.
So you're going to assume that, that bottle, that's pretty cool. It's, it costs $3 or $4 more. Oh, that must be a better product. And that is not at all hold true, right? It just doesn't. So I like how you guys, I see your videos a lot where it's like you're selling $45 singlets, $40 singlets.
Yeah. For preseason, we run a $40 singlet sale, and then typically they're $55, $60, depending on which style of singlet you get from us.
Which is, that's still a good price point. You have to be a business that makes money, right? Like in general, you still have to make a profit to be able to continue business. But when you have even a time period, say it's 3 months, whatever it is, preseason, where you're selling at that rate, there's so many underprivileged programs, right? And that's really the foundation of what Bmoney Beastin was, is we just want to help, right? Like, and like I don't know if you know this, right? Because we've had conversations, but we ain't really got deep or anything. But the foundation of what we're doing, which now we've turned into like wrestling Pokemon, and I still don't know how that happened, but like, dude, originally it was a club down in North Georgia that we were trying to help get off the ground. It was like a bunch of kids. They were athletes. It's just an impoverished area. So like I reached out to several people that I had met over the years. One guy like gave me some singlets, and one guy donated this and whatever. And eventually I went and made a deal with a little sports outfit. They sell like running shoes and stuff here up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And he sold me Cliff Keen headgears. He sold them to me at cost, right? So I went and bought like 50 headgears, and I donated them to this program. And as it was kind of the same thing you said, you're like, well, I can do this, right? Like, how can I do this? I never had any like interest. I don't like doing any kind of gear package like at all. I don't like doing shirts. I don't even like doing the shoes. I was just trying to find ways that we could help the underprivileged people. Like that was like kind of the goal. And when I started seeing that with you guys, I was like, dude, that fits right in the narrative of what I want to happen. So I want to support this, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, that's what it comes down to, right? If more kids got an opportunity to wrestle, you don't even have to be good at it. Like that's the thing. There's this perception, dude, that you have to be an Olympian, you have to be a 4-time undefeated state champ. That happens for like the one of the one, right?
Absolutely.
So like, dude, I'll be honest with you, man. I got my ass kicked a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, I wasn't anything special. But at the same time, that's like the perception in the wrestling community, right? Like if you go to Super 32, which I'm sure you've been there, we've all been there, go to Tulsa, man, there's so much pressure on these kids, right? Like, it's like, dude, it's like, it's okay, man. Like, and I was that guy. Like, I'm not going to lie. I was that guy with my son. I'm like, hey, man, we can get through that, whatever, Yeah. But in reality, it teaches you discipline, and you learn so many things from it. Like, you're living proof, right? You and your brother did this your whole life, and you have a thriving business based off of it. Does it mean you were the greatest in the country? No. Does it mean that you took a lot from it and built something off of it? That's what I think is the crucial point, and what we try to push, like as like a theory with Bmoney Beastin. So like, dude, I'm all behind you guys, and if I can help in any way, I'd love to.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing even we stand behind here and talk about on a daily basis is it's what wrestling teaches us at the end of the day. And, it's bigger than a sport. We're literally changing people's lives through this sport, teaching discipline, mental toughness, that integrity, everything like that, setting goals and trying to reach them, learning from failure. Like this sport is, a way of life, if you will, and
it's unique compared to anything else too. Cause like, I was mainly a football player, right? So like my whole life I could look and say, well, I'm the linebacker. I missed a tackle, but you missed a tackle too. You're right. So whatever it can be.
You kind of play that blame game, but no, you step on the mat, it's you and your opponent, and you have nobody else to really point blame to besides yourself. And, again, we take those values inside of our business too. And, it's that accountability, if you make a mistake, hey, own up to it. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all human at the end of the day. Everybody makes mistakes, but it's how you fix those mistakes. It's how you handle your failures and stuff like that. Like if you make a mistake and you're just going to lie to your customer or coach or whatever and try to make it seem like it's this person, like that's not the right way to go about it. Like at the end of the day, it's accountability. And, if you're at fault, take that accountability,
I agree with that, man. Like it's so much, and especially in this like generation that's coming up, right? Like in general, this generation coming up, like, how old are you?
I'm 29. I forgot I just had a birthday.
Happy birthday, brother.
Thank you.
But we're both kind of in that realm, right? I'm about 5 or 6 years older than you.
Mm-hmm.
When we were coming up, was Facebook a thing when you were in high school?
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, okay. Prior, for me, it was MySpace. Do you even remember that, MySpace?
Yeah. So I was an early a young one early to the internet. So my brother's 5 years older than me. So when he had like Zanga even,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
I was all on them. I was a child of the internet, you know. That's why I'm now doing kind of the media marketing side for our company. You know, that's definitely a child of the internet.
Yeah. So like, you know, at the time, like if you look back on history, like with generations of people, right?
Yeah.
Like in my, like during like our time, mine and your brothers, you know, that era, you got on MySpace at night, right? Like for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and you talk to your buddies, or you updated your top 8 or whatever it was, right? And now, you know, back then, like the coolest phone was like the little Nokia slide up phones. You remember those? They like slid up. Now, at the touch of a button at any given time, you're on social media and you have so many options.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I think it's kind of made this generation coming up like it's an instant gratification kind of thing, right? They're different. Like our generation, like we understood, like, hey, we got to work hard for whatever we're trying to accomplish. Like it was like instilled in us from our parents and then and our grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like for instance, my grandpa worked at a steel mill for like 50 years, right? Like that's hard work, right? Like for 50 years, like he didn't have a lot when he died, but he worked hard for what he had. So like you look at kids now, and at any given time, they can hit a button and they can have a pizza, or they can have, you know, a pair of shoes, or like whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So like this instant gratification world, it doesn't translate well with wrestling, right? Because everybody wants to win and wants this right now. And parents are the same way, dude. And I've been that parent, so I can speak on this. Yeah. Parents are the same way. Like, hey, he's been in practice now for 2 weeks. Why didn't he win? Why didn't he win his tournament last weekend? It's like, dude, how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like it's a process, and I think that's what makes this sport really unique, and I think that's what is really good for kids, and why I'm such a big advocate for it is because it's not something you can pick up and you're never going to master it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's another thing. Even the best guys in the world, right? Like they get beat too. Like you're never going to master it. So it's one of those constant like chasing kind of things. It's not an instant gratification kind of thing. So like I think in terms of old school way of thinking, I think it's good for younger kids at a younger age to get involved and wrestle, just to learn that, you know, you can't get everything instantaneously. Like they're raised up to learn, to be taught, because you're an adult. I'm an adult. If we don't go to work, we don't get paid, right? Like
period,
right? Like if you don't pay your rent, they're going to give you an eviction notice. So it's like, you know, you can't just expect things because your entire life you've been taught like I can click this and boom, I can have it. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think wrestling and even in those terms, going back to whether you're good at it or not, it's kind of, you know, inconsequential. It's like, okay, I have to work to try to get better at this. And you really don't have to do that in football, or maybe you do in baseball. But like in football, if you have athletic ability, dude, they can teach you block and tackle in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same thing, right? So, again, in this world of this generation coming up, I hope that, you know, it seems like USA Wrestling memberships are going up from what I'm reading. And that's only going to be a good thing, because those kids, even if they don't wrestle but 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4 years, they're going to take something from it that'll help them in their daily life. And that should be the whole entire goal here.
Absolutely. Like that, like with wrestling, there's no professional. Like you're not going to go and make, you know, all this money professional wrestling unless you're really one of those top WE stars, or, you know, a top UFC contender or something like that. Like you can go into fighting or MMA or stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's not wrestling. It's not, you know, what you're training your entire life for, you know, to go and wrestle. No, you're adapting, boxing and all that stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's building people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that's it. It's teaching us how to go about life in the best way, and not, like you said, not having that instant gratification. Like you're not going to have that really in your job, in a lot of things in your life, and you can't expect that. And I think, you know, like you were saying, social media really starts to build that expectation of like, oh, well, this person just posted one video and they have 1 million views. Like,
Right.
sorry, but it doesn't work that way for everyone. Like there is a such thing called luck. And, some people get it a little more than others. And I don't know, it's just one of those things. You just kind of have to keep your like that. That's our big motto here is head down, horns up. It's basically that is,
I love that.
you keep your head down, you do your work, and, you're always ready to fight, always ready for battle. That's the horns up type deal is, we're always ready for what's to come. And that's how you have to how I live my life, at least, is, it's keep your head down, do what you got to do. And, when it's time to step up and do the thing, then it's time,
And dude, I love that. Head down, horns up. I really
Yep.
dig that, man. Do y'all sell a t-shirt that says something like that?
Not yet. We're still trying to get like our rhinos, our mascot here.
Right.
I'm sure you've seen that around. So that's kind of the tie to that. We're really trying to push Reggie out there. And then the whole head down, horns up mentality as well. That's kind of our new thing. Yep.
I think that's cool because, we were talking about other brands and things, and they all have like their little sayings or whatever. And, like for us, like when we first started out, I came up with show up, show out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thought of it was, the thought behind it was like, it's not a perfectionist thing. It's you have to be there. So get there and do everything you can to be the best while you're there. Right. Mm-hmm. You win, lose, show up, show out to the best of your ability. Does that mean you're going to come out the best? No, it means that you did everything you could.
You did.
And that was kind of like my thought process with that. And then, of course, we built the card game. And then, my partner out in California came up with Let's Rumble. So I guess that's like the new little whatever he's doing. But but dude, that's really cool. Like the horns up. I like that. So yeah, man, when you get that going, let me know. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, for sure. I know I got some designs vaulted up with that. So yeah, we'll definitely have to get you some merch with it.
Dude, that's sweet. Yeah, I dig that, man. So where did the name Vantage come from? Because that's unique and different.
Yeah, so it actually all started with our logo, our Power V logo. This one.
Mm-hmm.
So, me and my brother, we're both designers. We're sitting in his bedroom one day, again, just kind of like, we know what we want to do. We have this logo. What's the name? and so that was really trying to now workshop a name to match the logo, because we were just, again, being designers, creating random logos, different letters, stuff like that. So we had this one in the vault, and Vantage was like the vantage point. It's the top of the line. You're above everyone else, and you can kind of look out over the competition or the battle or whatever. And so that's where we came to Vantage is. Plus, it's like your advantage for wrestling gear and everything like that.
That's unique, but you came up with the V first.
Yep.
So you came up with a letter that was a really cool, because that is really cool. I really like how y'all built that. The not the one on your hat's cool too, but the one on your shirt's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, that's really unique. So that's really cool that you came up with a letter and you're like, hey, I like this letter. Now we got to find a word that starts with this letter. That's cool, man. You don't see.
Yeah, we might have been sitting on, honestly, that logo for months, and it was just one of those things that we're just like, no, we're ready to start like our business. We have this logo. What's the name? Like, in no way did we intend for it to even be really like a wrestling logo. It just fit so well, and like we couldn't sell that one or pass it up or anything like that. So we're like, nope, this is our business. We're gonna hit the ground running, and Vantage Wrestling began.
Dude, it has a really cool look too, like on your stuff. Like you got Nike checks and whatever, right? Like that has like a really cool feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, I'm definitely not a Texas fan or anything like that, but when you're talking about your Longhorn there, your mascot.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that like some of the stuff that like the University of Texas came up with, for football with like the horns and things. And if you glance at that, like on a singlet or a shirt, you're going to glance at it and then you're going to take a second look, because it actually looks kind of like a rhino. Mm-hmm. It actually has like that look. And that's the first time I ever seen it. That's what I did. I kind of had a second glance to it. I was like, dude, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So like, So I can see that like resonating too with like a younger demographic. And with what you're trying to accomplish, because you're significantly more affordable than a lot of brands, right?
Mhm.
And when you're trying to accomplish that, the main target audience you would think is going to be like the younger generation, right? Because how many youth clubs compared to high school teams are there? So you look at say I'm just going to make up a number here, right?
Mhm.
Say there's 10,000 high school teams in the country. I'm just saying that's not fact. It's just a number. Okay, out of those 10,000 high school teams, there's probably 50,000 youth clubs,
It
right?
seems like it, man.
Yeah. So like you really, if you can get, and if you can get them on the smaller end there, and you have like, and a lot of those are connected to maybe a middle school or, whatever,
Yep.
or in a community that would feed like multiple schools or whatever that may be. If you can get it on the ground floor and they see, okay, hey, this is a great product. Okay. Is going to go up and up and up. And eventually you may have the whole county, right?
Yep.
So
We see that a lot. So we'll start with either, the high school, middle school, youth coach will come in because they might have had either a bad experience from another supplier or, are seeing our marketing and want to give us a shot. Typically it's one of those coaches come in, they get their gear and they're just like, okay, you guys have a product here. You guys are delivering something really good, better than our last guy. So, we want to bring the entire community to you guys. And we've seen that even with, multiple high schools. You have some cities with multiple high schools in their communities. Those coaches are now talking and being like, hey, don't mess with these people over here. You got to go through Vantage. They're going to take care of you. Like that's our number one thing here is our customer service. Aside from our quality, it's our customer service. I always say, if you can't communicate with somebody, you can't work with them. Period. There's no relationship there. If you can't communicate, you have nothing. That is the basis to everything in human existence. If we can't communicate, we have nothing. So, for us, customer service is at the top of the list. And then quality and everything else just kind of backs all that stuff up. Like when you get your gear, you're blown away. On top of the process was super easy and you dealt with somebody that can actually communicate with you and not just tell you like, well, this is how we do it. You can't really change your design up or anything like that. Like us, we'll go back and forth. We can do the 100% custom. If you want to go with one of our templates, great. But we're here to develop what the club, school, team wants. Like at the end of the day, it's their decision. It's not ours. We want to deliver what they want and not basically be that company that's like, oh no, this is how we do it. You can't do it any other way and stuff like that. We work with people.
And dude, that's key, right? Because and I'll just use this for anything, right? If you call, say you got a Lowe's credit card, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to buy something, and it's maybe not working right, or you bought, or you got a fraudulent charge, or I'm just making this up.
Yeah.
And you call the 1-800 number, you're going to get somebody who has no clue what's going on. You're going to, if you get anybody at all, after you go through 97 prompts. And it's just when you frustrate a consumer, they're going to drop, So having even a minor, relationship, one-on-one relationship with a customer will keep that customer returning because they feel comfortable with the environment. I agree with that. And, I work in the e-learning space, right? My main job, I work in the e-learning space. And that's our number one thing we hound too, is that we're very responsive and we take care of problems really quickly. And that's been the success of that company. So, I love that, man. That's really cool because you're going to run into, and things happen, right? Like say you, you have like a youth club with 40 kids and about 3 of the singlets, like something on the stitching was off or whatever. Like you would replace those quickly, correct? Like that would be.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that sets us kind of apart from all of our competition is, we do stand behind our products. I know a lot of people say that, but we also offer a 2-year seam to seam warranty on our singlets and stuff.
That's
So,
awesome.
if somebody's singlet rips, like a seam pops, or they have any issues, they can take a picture, and, if it's within that warranty, like you're using your singlet correctly, like we're going to replace it. No questions asked. Like that's it. Again, we stand behind our products. We know how these products should act and hold up at the end of the day. And when somebody has an issue, we fix it. Like that's all we can do at the end of the day. It's mistakes are going to happen, whether it's here, there, anywhere. It's
Yeah,
how you handle those mistakes. And I think I said that a little bit earlier. It's just
you
like,
did. Yeah.
that's what it's the accountability. It's what wrestling has taught us. Like at the end of the day, I know every wrestling brand kind of says for wrestlers by wrestlers, but we're literally taking what wrestling has taught us in life and applying it directly to business.
Yeah, and dude, and it seems to be doing well. You got a pretty good following that I see on Instagram, and it seems like every couple of weeks I'll say I love those little clips you make too. The not clips, but the little promos where you kind of have this orange black fade kind of thing going on with like a quote. Like for whatever reason, those pop, and I like those. Like I always try to share them when I see you post them.
Yeah. Our motivational Mondays.
Yeah, like that's pretty. Is that what it is? I didn't know that.
Yep.
They're pretty cool, man. Yeah, I like that because like you never know what somebody's going through, right? And if maybe they read something that maybe it's 3 sentences and it changes their entire outlook on things, and that's a great thing. And I've thrown up a handful of ideas that I had over the last year or so, but like in general, what it all comes down to, we all have like this love for this sport, I guess. And like I love watching it. I love being around it. It's just unique, and I think everybody should do it. So like every kid should get into it. With that being said, with Vantage, man, we'll kind of wrap up with this because I know you got a busy day and things, and I just kind of wanted to hear the story of Vantage Wrestling. But let's wrap up with this. We know what you do right now. You do a lot of gear packages and teams and schools, and you got apparel and things. Or is there anything you're looking forward to in the future that you'd want to add into the Vantage brand? Is there anything new or unique you'd like to bring in or do differently, or just anything like that?
Yeah. So I mean, we're always constantly, workshopping new ideas here. We're all creative at the end of the day. But obviously, shoes are huge. That's somewhere where we want to eventually go. No plans right now on dates or anything like that. That's obviously just a vision that we want to develop into. And then the one thing that we're working on right now is our community. So it's basically for any and every wrestler, coach, past wrestler, anybody who interested in wrestling. If they want to, join this community, they can come in and talk to other wrestlers, coaches, past athletes. They can ask questions. We'll have challenges on there where they can, compete and earn like gift cards, custom singlets, exclusive merch, stuff like that. And having like live Q&As with wrestlers, coaches, people in the industry, in the sport that have, that knowledge to give. That's actually something I'm working on right now, and looking to roll out hopefully within the month, maybe November, if it, drags out. Again, being team gear season, I have to hop back and, help fulfill some orders right now, being a little bit smaller of a team. But no, like that's our big thing that we're really working on. And we have our ambassador program where, inside that community, there's going to be, for our ambassadors, completely exclusive to them, courses on like how to build their personal brands. So with the whole NIL space and, everything kind of opening up for college and now even high school kids, like that is going to give them so much free game to just blow up their accounts if they want to. At the end of the day, it's what they want out of this stuff. And, that's all we can do is give them the tools to go and build the house. And if they want to build the house, they can build it.
This is going to be exclusively like through your website, I'm assuming.
It's based off of school.com. So like Alex Hermosi, I know he's like a big social media guy. He actually owns the platform. So it'll be all hosted on there. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're going to, like I said, going to be rolling that out hopefully within the month.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, like any way you can give back. And you were talking about NIL. I don't know if NIL is a great thing for wrestling though. Like you keep looking, like we seen who was it, Campbell the other day is cutting scholarships.
See, I think on the other side of that, NIL is going to be what saves Campbell, is because rather than relying on the school and the boosters to basically fund your program, now you can open it up to the entire wrestling community. And if we want to pay for this person to go to Campbell, then hey, we can come out of pocket and give them a scholarship or whatever. It kind of opens up the opportunity for, our sport that's not football or basketball that has all the funding, and it actually gives, I think, opportunity to some of these wrestlers. But I only see, one side to it.
I can see. I was just about to say that when you jumped in. I was going to say, like, with Campbell losing scholarships. But then, earlier in the year, you've seen where the NCAA had said they're raising from 9 to like 30 scholarships for college wrestling. It was something like that. And I was talking to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga's head coach one day. We train up there during the week, and he was just happened to be there. And he said, it only works if you have the money to spend, right, for 30 scholarships. Mm-hmm. He's like, for us, I don't think you'll ever see, I think they had like 32 guys in there, right, like practicing that day. And they don't have the funding to cover 30 scholarships. Now at Ohio State or Michigan or, Iowa or whatever, probably wouldn't be a problem. Mm-hmm. But for small programs, so maybe on the backside of that, maybe the NIL with boosters backfills that, and that helps. But like the name, image, likeness thing is so like I'm looking at it from a college football standpoint too, mm-hmm. right? Because like if you look at it, 5 years ago, kids that were like, trying to make it to the NFL, right, to set themselves up for life. Now you got, quarterback, like the kid that was at where was he at? New Mexico.
The one that's sitting out.
Yeah. I think it was New Mexico State or something. Yeah, well, they didn't pay me exactly what, I was told I was going to make. And to me, that's ruining college football. Mm-hmm. Like, and eventually that could be a thing with college wrestling at some point, and baseball and whatever. Like, so there's a good side to it and a bad side to it. And I just think that it needs I think Nick Saban said it best. There needs to be like a cap, right? Like, you're not going to make, $10 million to play 4 years here. You might make $50,000 a year or something, realistic. Let's be realistic,
Yeah. See, and that's where it all gets fuzzy too, though, is because like, if you look at like, how can there be a cap when it's kind of endorsement deals? It's kind of
talking about to play for or wrestle or play baseball.
Basically like the school saying, hey, we'll pay you to come here.
Yeah. Now outside of that, if they can do Nike endorsements or whatever, that's cool. But like where you're talking face to face with the school saying you're going to pay me $7 million or whatever, that's overkill, right? We're talking about.
And then you have the whole situation with Oregon, though. Like it's all, and that's where the NCAA I feel like is enemy number one, because it really like having the whole block at first, like the whole destroying thing, how he couldn't basically be a kicker in football because he had a YouTube channel. So he had to make that decision on either like livelihood or playing a game. But no, I think it really like you have Nike who went to Oregon and was like, hey, we'll give you unlimited funds. I just want to see a national championship for Oregon before I go. So like, again, it's just the loopholes where, oh, well, I'm not going to give this money directly to the school. I'll keep it to just get you guys athletes. And you'll start having those from boosters and stuff like that, like it's one of those things where it was already happening before NIL even was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was. Let's not just turn a blind eye to that. Like we all know that was going on behind closed doors.
Dude, oh, yeah. It's always been a thing, right? And I don't know that it's been a thing to the point, like, I mean, like you look at Reggie Bush, he just got his Heisman back, right? Like, I think a few months ago. Yeah, that was the stupidest thing in the world, right? And when they first took it from him, I was like, give it to Vince Young. If you're really going to take it, Vince Young probably should have won it that year anyway. Yeah. But they just let it sit there vacant. It really made no sense, right? And if you look back on it, what did he make? $100,000, and he got a car, or his dad got a car or something. Mm-hmm. It was something like that, right? And Reggie Bush was one of the top 3 players in college football that year, whatever. USC was, But and I'm sure that wasn't the only instance back then in 2006 or whatever of that. I know that there was parents like Cam Newton. They talked about Cam Newton's dad getting paid off for him to go to Auburn or whatever back in the day. Like, that's always been a thing. Mm-hmm. But when you bring it to the forefront and you got 18-year-old kids, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, all right, they can't buy alcohol, right? They can't. They're kids. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 sides of this. If you try to tell a kid, and especially its parents, I guarantee you, and I'd be the same way. Like, if my son was like a top wide receiver, I'd be like, dude, get $9 million out of him, whatever.
Yeah, no, make it while you can.
Yeah, so like, I get it, but when you're telling these kids, like, there was a kid here in Chattanooga, he plays at Tennessee now. He's like a safety. He was making like $14,000 for every Instagram post he made, right? Like, that's insane. So you look at the amount of money that he would make in like a calendar year just off Instagram postings. This kid has no idea what taxes is. Right? No idea what paying taxes is. So now you're taking a kid that probably 2 years before that was on free and reduced lunch, right? Couldn't pay for his lunch at school. And you're giving him enough money that would probably set him up the rest of his life, but he thinks it's all his when there's a big chunk of it that don't belong to him. So what happens to these kids when they overspend, and then Uncle Sam comes and says, hey, you got a tax bill here? Like, I don't think they're educating these kids well either. They're just giving them a bunch of money and say, hey, go win me football games or, baseball games or whatever it is. I just think the process is not perfected, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally hear that. And, with it being so new, like there's going to be so much change over the next however long with all this. It's going to forever be changing. Let's just be honest there. Like,
yeah.
But
dude, I just, at the end of the day, like, what everybody wants is you want good human beings and good adults to run companies and work jobs and be good fathers and mothers and sons and daughters. And if they can make millions of dollars, good for them, right? But like, educate them on how to use that money, educate them on taxes and, responsibilities and things. I just think that and when they do that, and they maybe there should be like an apprenticeship program, right? Maybe you take, like, for football, you take some NFL guys and they come every year, and they like old NFL guys, right? Like retired NFL guys. And maybe they travel the country to all these universities, and they just kind of talk about how, you do this is how you should invest. This is what you should save. This is, maybe that's a thing. And you can do that with wrestling and baseball and whatever. And I think that by doing that, and adding a school cap, right? Because now, like you said, with Oregon, like Phil Knight, I'm just going to say it because I say whatever I want on here. That dude's insane. Like, I don't like that dude. I'm not a Nike fan. With that being said, though, to say, hey, you got unlimited funding to build a national championship team, and then week 1, you barely beat Idaho. Like, to me, that it's whatever, dude. It's like, okay, but eventually with that kind of funding, they're going to be unstoppable. And they just beat Ohio State last week, right? Yeah. They shouldn't have, I don't think, but they did. So eventually they're going to be unstoppable because kids from everywhere is going to be like, dude, they're going to pay me $5 million to come sit on the bench for 2 years, right? To, play special teams, dude. I'm going to go do that. So, but that's taken away from, recruiting was a fair thing, right? Like back before you could, now granted there was backdoor deals like we talked about, right? But recruiting overall was about as fair as it could be, right? Everybody had their pitch, right? And now it's like, who has the most revenue? And like, you're seeing it with Alabama right now. And Alabama's got one of the top 10 in the country with the most revenue. Mm-hmm. Dude, they look like homemade garbage right now. I grew up a big Alabama fan, dude. They lost to Vanderbilt. They barely beat South Carolina. Like, they're looking like in a little bit, like they're kind of taking a dip. And I think over time, like you're looking at it in the SEC. I live in the South, so that's like hotbed for football, right? If you look at the SEC right now, there's probably 10 teams that could beat almost anybody on any given week. Like it's so competitive. Where like up in the north, the Big Ten's always been like Michigan and Ohio State, right? Like the Penn State,
Penn State, those three.
So like that. But I think over the next couple of years, like you said, it's going to be like Texas. Texas is going to go on a run because they got unlimited oil money, right? And then you got Nike up here with Oregon, and then I think it's going to end up being like a 5 to 10 team race every year. And it's going to be.
You'll see the six handful of teams or the six top teams in it basically every year, and then you'll see the other six that are basically really fighting for spots.
Yeah, and it's going to be based on revenue and money.
Well, and then kind of just cycling this back into wrestling, like, I think Bo Bassett even said in one of his posts, like, with the whole NIL thing, that does kind of make a recruiting, like you have to look at that now too. Mm-hmm. Like, and again, I get it, like 100%. As a kid, like you used to go to the school because you loved the school. Now you're going to a school you might not even necessarily align with, but you're looking at after yourself and kind of your family and your own ass, if I can cuss on here. But no, like you're just kind of looking after yourself, and you have to. That's kind of the whole mentality now. Is like everybody's looking after themselves, not over the group or the team or the whatever. Like it's a lot more kind of selfish anymore, and in some sense you kind of have to be, but it's how you, again, in a team sport like football, it's how you relate to that. But at the end of the day, it's your own personal goals that matter the most. Like it is, what are you really striving for? And that's where I think a lot of these kids, like with football being such a high dollar sport, like it's kind of, what's the goal here? Is it to make a bunch of money as fast as you can, or is it to get to that national championship, or the NFL, or the MMA, whatever, like however that looks? I think it's kind of muddying up some goals. Like what's the saying? Like money is the root of all evil. Like
it is, yeah.
And like that's one of those things where it's very distracting. Like as much as you want to go after this, you have this person basically saying like, I'll give you $500,000 right now to do X, Y, and Z. And you're just like, man, that changes me just substantially and my family. And, like what can that do? Just $500,000,
That's a lot of money.
And like, do I now sit out my senior year because this person's going to give me this amount of money to do this? Like it changes the whole scheme of things. And, that's where these kids just kind of have to stand on their own ground and say, no, like the Colorado State quarterback, I came here to play for Colorado State and to win them a national championship. Are they going to win one? No, but that's the goal. And he's chasing that goal. And, I can respect that. And I feel like everybody else should respect that. And I know a lot of people are clowning him on, social media, Twitter, whatever. And, talking about, oh, you should have took the money. You're not going to see that national championship. But like, I condemn that. And that's such an admirable trait. Like loyalty anymore is huge. Like so many people will switch up for any dollar amount. And if you can find that person that is loyal, like that's when you start, pay them a little bit more just because of that loyalty, because it's such a hard trait to really find anymore. It's because so many people, like it's just going back to the whole, you have to be selfish kind of for yourself and look out after you and yours.
And I get that. I think like years ago, I've always used the Green Bay Packers as a pretty cool like thought here.
Mm-hmm.
You look, they went from Favre to Rodgers to Jordan Love. Favre's in the Hall of Fame. Rodgers will be in the Hall of Fame. And Jordan Love, if he doesn't get injured, will probably be in the Hall of Fame. So they had 3 back-to-back quarterbacks. What's the one thing that they did? And I just use this could go for anything. There's kids in college wrestling rooms right now that are juniors and haven't started yet, but have gotten significantly better and may have explosive senior years, right? So what did they do compared to now, right? We're back to the instant gratification. Favre was traded there, sat. Rodgers got drafted where he fell, he sat.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Love got drafted where he fell, he sat. Arch Manning right now, granted, he comes from a wealthy family, right? So he doesn't need money. Plus, he had crazy NIL money coming out or whatever.
Yeah.
But he sat all last year and most of this season with Quinn Ewers, who just got put back in the game when he healed up.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be a first-round draft pick. And he's still not transferring. He's like, this is where I'm going to be. This is who I want to learn under. This is where my goals are. And he's sticking to them. So, props to Arch.
Especially when he could have transferred out because Quinn Ewers is like, I'll come back one more year.
Yeah, right.
How many kids on that same situation are just like, I'll go start.
Yeah, somewhere else. Yeah. So, like, I think there's going to be, you're right, there's going to be less of that, over time. I think it goes back, money. Like, you got to take care of your family, man. And I get that. And, we're in an economy right now that's brutal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, on top of everything, gas is through the roof and groceries and everything else. And, if you have an opportunity to do that, I don't blame anybody for doing that. Like, okay, hey, I'll give you all this money and all you got to do is play for this season or whatever, cool. But, at the same time, like going back to wrestling, you learn a lot. And I don't know that there'll be a lot of that, even though you brought up Bo Bassett. He's probably making a ton of money right now on different endorsement deals as we speak, right? Because he's won everything. He's got a great big following. He seems like be a really grounded and good kid, right? Like, so people gravitate to that. Every day you see on Twitter, he's posting 452, 456, 450. Like, he's up working every single day. Yeah. So like, anybody can relate to that, right? Like, that's the guy that packs his ham sandwich and his coffee and he's off to the coal mines, or that's the guy that, is up. He's a salesman, got to be on the sales floor by 8 o'clock. So everybody, teachers, whatever, we can relate to that, and everybody that while he's building his brand. And I seen him post something a couple of days ago that one day he wants to fight in the UFC, which I think is really cool. Yeah. So like he could make, I don't know what they college wrestling program, and at this point, I don't know where he's going to end up. Like, if I had a guess, if I was betting, I would bet on like Oklahoma State or Penn State. Like, that's just my thought. But like, granted, he could shock us all and end up at like Rutgers or something, right? Like, who knows? Yeah. But like, wherever he ends up, like, I'm sure he's going to make money for being there, and he's probably going to be a couple-time national champ. Like, he's a great wrestler. But at the end of the day, like, maybe he makes so much money here, and then maybe that is the goal. Okay, I'm going to get to UFC, and I'm going to make $20 million in a year, and I'm going to fight 3 times or whatever the case may be. So you're right. It's an individual basis, and it's kind of, for everybody's got a different like outlook and goals and things like that. But we could debate NIL all day long, brother. Man, I've really enjoyed getting to know you, man. I think that what you guys are doing is really awesome, and you're catering to a demographic of people that really at times need help. And I'll tell you that from experience. I've been a single dad, man, like most of my life. And dude, there's been times where I can pay for new shoes or I can pay the power bill. Like, I mean, it's life, dude, and when you're catering and giving opportunities for, kids and coaches and, parents and things to afford things like this, that's a great thing, man. And you'll always have our support. And if we can help in any way, man, reach out. Like, we're just a small little brand. And really, if you wonder, like, you look behind us, we're just building wrestling Pokemon. So, but we're in this, and if we can help in any way, we'd love to. You got any final words? You want to throw out a shout out for your brand?
Yeah. Vantage Wrestling, vantageathletic.com is our website where you can check us out. We got team gear seasons in full effect. So if you're a coach, team, anything like that, looking for team gear, hit us up. Again, we're people working with people. If you're looking for a brand that you can honestly just communicate with and start to build a relationship with, we're your team. Honestly, we stand behind our products. We love what we do. We love the people we work with, and honestly just want to see, people have great gear and have great experience, whether that's through us or not. Like, at the end of the day, we care about the sport, we care about the people, and we just want to give back and do what we can inside of our sport and help out our communities. So yeah, that's really all I got. Again, I loved hopping on here with you doing this podcast. Everybody check out Bmoney Beastin, the card game. I got mine actually right on my shelf right back here too. So yeah, definitely check them out. Check us out. I had a great time.
Yeah, man, this was awesome, dude. Vantage Wrestling, Bailey Mezinger. Did I say it right?
Mezinger. Yep.
Mezinger. I'll get it one day.
All good.
Episode 22 of the Bmoney Beastin podcast is in the books.
See ya.
Hey, bro.